I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Psalms, chapter 131. Let's focus on verses 1 through 3. Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor my eyes lofty. Neither do I concern myself with great matters, nor with things too profound for me. Surely I have calmed and quieted my soul, like a weaned child with his mother. Like a weaned child is my soul within me. O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. Now, if you want to start a brawl in a women's ministry, start asserting your opinions concerning the whens and the wheres and the extents of breastfeeding. My wife breastfed all of our children, and we have heard about every opinion on the subject from about every angle imaginable. So the reason that I mention that is because David's use of the image of weaning, it brought to mind an experience my wife and I had at a restaurant many years ago. Our oldest son was about 5, and our oldest daughter was a toddler. I remember that. A couple of moms were in conversation at a table next to ours, and our children were all kind of playing with theirs. But as the moms talked, one of the children, who was about my son's age, kept interrupting and sort of obsessively pawing at his mom. And finally, mid-conversation, the mom just snatched up this sort of pre-kindergarten aged boy and started breastfeeding him. Now, my son glanced up at us, and he defined the moment with one whispered word: awkward. And I share that story because it illustrates the exact point that David is making, which is the difference between a weaned and an unweaned child as they sit next to their mothers. Now, before a child is the age to be weaned, the experience of feeding goes way beyond nutritional needs. There's this essential personal, emotional, and nurturing bond that naturally occurs through the process of breastfeeding. But by a certain age, which may vary with each child, what was once natural and nurturing becomes more akin to anxious and abnormal cravings that signal stalled maturity. Kids are not created to breastfeed forever, for example. Both the Apostle Paul and the writer of the New Testament book of Hebrews use the same imagery to describe similar dysfunctions and stunted maturity in the discipleship process of followers of Jesus. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 1 through 3. And I, brethren, could not speak to you as spiritual people, but as to carnal, as to babes in Christ. I fed you with milk and not with solid food, for until now you were not able to receive it. And even now you're still not able, for you are still carnal. For where there are envy and strife and divisions among you, are you not carnal and behaving more like mere men? Or what about Hebrews chapter 5, verses 12 and 13? For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the first principles of the oracles of God. You have come to need milk and not solid food. For everyone who partakes only of milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. In Psalm 131, David is saying that he used to be haughty with lofty eyes. He was immature. But like a weaned child, he had matured to a calm and quieted soul. His faith had grown so that his worship was no longer self-focused. Has your faith matured beyond seeking God solely for what He can do for you? Because healthy discipleship should grow your faith to the point where we ask the Lord how we can serve Him. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Now, Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And we need your monthly support now more than ever. Donating is secure and it's easy at our website, groundworksministries.com. Another way to help is to tell people about Groundworks Ministries. You can share these podcasts with friends and family and on your social media. And of course, you can always direct folks to our website, groundworksministries.com. www.thebrainfeed.com.